The silence of Eden. The wind moved slowly across the empty forest. The trees once glowed bright blue. Now they were dull and cracked. The leaves had fallen long ago, and the ground was dry and silent. Eden was dying. Queen Elira stood at the edge of the cliff. Her long silver hair floated with the soft wind. Her eyes, once full of light, were now tired. She looked down at her world, her home. Her creatures were fading, turning to ash, disappearing one by one. Tiny creatures, like stars with wings, used to fly across the sky. They sang soft songs. Now their songs were gone. Only a few were left, shaking, weak, barely alive. Their glow was fading fast. Elira whispered to herself, "I gave them everything, my power, my breath, my light. And still, they are dying." She walked slowly into the forest. Her feet touched the dry soil. It cracked under her steps. She saw a small creature, no bigger than her hand. It was shaking. She kneeled beside it and touched it gently. The creature looked into her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said softly. It faded into dust. Elira closed her eyes. A tear fell from her cheek and touched the ground. The earth did not react. No magic. No life. She stood up and looked at the sky. Her voice echoed through her mind. "Is anyone out there? Please, I need help. My world is dying." Far away, beyond the stars, something moved. In the cold darkness of space, a small human ship floated near a broken moon. The lights were dim, systems were failing. Inside, a man named Captain Elias Gray opened his eyes. He was the last human. On the ship, the others were gone. His oxygen was low. Just 7% left. He checked the control panel. No fuel, no signal. He smiled weakly. "Well, guess that's it then." Suddenly, he heard something. Not with his ears, but in his mind. A soft voice. A feeling. A sadness. "Is anyone out there?" He sat up, confused. What was that? He felt the pain. Not his pain, but someone else's, someone far away. A cry. A call. He closed his eyes. The feeling came again. "Please, they are dying." Elias opened the star map. One planet blinked, far away. No name, no known data. Just one signal. Eden. He stared at it. "All right," he whispered. "I don't know who you are, but I'm coming." He entered the coordinates. Warning, no fuel for return. Dangerous atmosphere. "Do not proceed," he smiled. "Let's break one more rule." He pressed launch. Back on Eden, Queen Elira stood near a dying tree. Its roots were dry. Its branches were black. She closed her eyes and listened to the wind. Suddenly, the sky cracked with sound. A fireball shot through the clouds. A ship burning falling. She looked up. Her eyes widened. "What is that?" The creatures near her looked too. Weak, afraid, but curious. The ship crashed into the far side of the forest. Smoke rose. The ground shook. Silence followed. Elira took a deep breath. She felt a new energy. Not her own. Not from Eden. Something different. Something strange. She walked toward the crash site. Captain Elias crawled out of the broken ship. His suit was torn. Blood on his face. He breathed hard. His oxygen alarm beeped. 2%. He looked around. Strange glowing trees. Purple skies. Floating stones and silence. He laughed softly. "I must be dead." Then he saw it, a small creature, shaking, almost gone. He reached for his suit. Inside, a small water pack. Only a few drops left. He opened it and poured one drop near the creature. It moved. Then it glowed, just a little. Weak but alive. Elias smiled. "Still got it," he said. Then he fell back, coughing. From behind a tree. Elira watched. Her eyes wide. Her breath caught. She had never seen this creature, this human. But he had something she didn't. Something she thought was gone. Hope. The Lost One lands. The air around the crash site was still hot. Smoke rose from the broken trees. Strange. Sparks flew from the human ship, now nothing more than twisted metal. The ground was cracked open like a wound, but something new had entered Eden. Captain Elias Gray lay motionless near the wreck. His body was bruised, his helmet cracked, his breath shallow. The alarm inside his suit blinked red. Oxygen, 1%, he coughed. Weakly, each breath was harder than the last. He opened his eyes slowly. Above him, he saw a purple sky and silver leaves falling like snow. He smiled. This is not Earth. He turned his head. A small glowing creature stood near him. Its tiny body shimmered like soft light, but it shook tired, hungry, dying. Elias reached into his suit. One last drop of water remained. He poured it into his palm. The creature stepped forward and drank. For a moment. It glowed brighter. Elias laughed. That's it, little guy. Drink up. Then he passed out. Queen Elira watched from the shadows. Her tall figure stood still among the broken trees. Her long white cloak moved gently with the air. She had followed the fire from the sky. She had seen the man fall, and now she saw something impossible. The creature, one of her own, had begun to heal because of the human. She stepped forward slowly, her feet light on the ground. As she walked closer, the plants near her bowed slightly. Not from fear, but from respect. The human stirred. His eyes opened just a little. He saw her. For a second he could not believe what he saw. A woman made of light and sorrow, her face calm, but filled with thousands of years. Elira spoke without words. Her voice was inside his head. You are broken, Elias blinked. Yeah, he whispered. You too? Elira tilted her head. She knelt beside him. Why did you come? He gave a slow, tired smile. Heard someone crying. She placed her hand near his chest. His heartbeat was weak. You gave life to one of mine, with nothing left in yourself. He looked at the sky. What else was I gonna do? Elira stood. She turned her eyes to the stars. He is not like others. He gives without promise. Far away, the forest began to change. Tiny signs. Faint light returned to one branch. A flower blinked open for the first time in years. The creatures dying just days ago began to stir. One by one, they followed the light. They came to see him. Elias opened his eyes again and saw them all. Dozens of glowing creatures stood around him. Their wings buzzed softly. They looked at him with wonder. With hope, he sat up slowly. Pain shot through his side. You're welcome, he whispered. He looked at the tall woman again. Are you their queen? I was, she said. And now? Now I am the last protector of a dying world. He nodded. Maybe we can fix that. She studied him, this weak creature. This soft, bleeding human, and yet he had done more in 1 minute than she could in 1 century. You are not of Eden, she said. No, Elias replied. But maybe that's why I'm here. That night, the stars above Eden shone a little brighter. Queen Elira stood at the edge of her forest once more. But now there was a sound. Not the wind. Not silence. But the soft humming of her creatures alive again, even if just a little. And in the center of it all was a man who had nothing left to give, and still gave more. The trade of life. The sun on Eden rose without warmth. It was a pale star, far from what it once was. But today, for the first time in many years, something had changed. The light touched the forest, and the forest responded. Tiny leaves unfolded, roots shifted. And in the center of it all, the human slept. Captain Elias Gray lay on a soft bed of glowing moss. His breathing was slow, his face pale. The creatures had gathered around him all night. Some curled near his chest. Others hummed softly, as if guarding him. Queen Elira stood nearby watching. She had not slept. She had not blinked that she had seen many strange things in her long life. But never this. A man who gave life away like it was nothing. When Elias finally opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was her. "Still here?" he asked, his voice dry. She nodded. "You are weak. You should be dead," he smiled. "People say that a lot about me." He sat up slowly. The pain was still there. His body was tired, but his eyes were clear. He looked around. The forest? It wasn't dead anymore, just quiet. Watching. Waiting. "Why did my blood help them?" he asked. Alira stepped closer. "Your kind burns worlds, but you healed one," he frowned. "I didn't heal anything. I just gave what I had." "Exactly," she said. She held out her hand. In her palm, a small creature sat. It was once pale and dying. Now it glowed gently. It bowed its head to Elias. "They are bound to the light of this world," she explained. "That light was lost long ago, but inside you is something very old. Something forgotten." He raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" "Sacrifice." Later, they walked together through the forest. It was still weak, still fading, but it showed signs of hope, flowers opening, colors returning. Elias leaned on a carved stick. His steps were slow, but steady. "Why is this place dying?" he asked. Alira looked down. Her face darkened. "Long ago, there was balance. My kind ruled with care. Then others came from the stars. They took, they burned, they poisoned the sky. My people fought and lost, and now I am alone. My world is quiet, my creatures vanish each day." Elias looked up at the trees. "Then I guess I came at the right time." They returned to the heart of Eden, a tree taller than mountains, standing in silence. Its bark was black, its branches broken. "This is the source tree," she said. "If it dies, everything dies." Elias stepped forward. He placed his hand on the tree. It was cold, but something inside him, his blood, his breath responded. The tree glowed faintly under his touch. Alira's eyes widened. "It reacts to you." He turned to her. "Then let's give it more." He spent the next days giving what he could. A drop of blood to a creature, a breath into a flower, a tear into the soil. Each time, the world responded. More color, more life, but Elias grew weaker. His hands shook. His skin turned pale. The forest healed. He broke. One night, as stars rose over Eden, Alira found him lying near the source tree. His body was still, but his eyes were open. She knelt beside him. "You must stop," she said. "If I stop, it all dies. You will die." He smiled. "Then let me trade my life for theirs." She looked at him, this soft creature, this broken man. He had no weapons, no army, no throne. But in his weakness, he held more power than all her ancestors, because he chose to give. And so, the trade was made. Not with words, not with magic, but with one quiet decision. One man, one final spark, one dying world, slowly waking again. The choice. The stars above Eden blinked quietly, like they were watching. Once full of silence, was alive again, just a little. Light moved through the trees like a slow breath. Flowers opened one by one. The air smelled clean for the first time in years. But at the center of it all, one man was breaking. Captain Elias Gray stood near the source tree, his legs shaking. His suit was torn, his skin pale. The veins in his arms glowed faint blue now. Eden's light had entered him, and it was eating him from the inside. Queen Alira watched him with silent fear. "You gave too much," she said. Elias laughed softly. "But it hurt." He held his side and winced. "Yeah, I've been told." She stepped closer. Her voice was sharp now, not cold, but full of worry. "You are not one of us. This planet is feeding on you. The more you give, the faster it drains your life. Then I'll give until there's nothing left." "Why?" He looked at her. His voice was quiet, because no one else came. She stared at him. For a long time she said nothing. Then she spoke, not with power, but with something she hadn't used in years. Hope. There is another way. He raised an eyebrow. There's always another way. But what does it cost? Alira turned her gaze to the glowing tree. If you stop now, your life can still be saved. I can pull the light from your body, return it to the forest. You will live, and the forest? It will pause. Not die, but not heal. He looked around. The little creatures were sleeping again. Their soft bodies warm, their light steady. He thought of the silence before he came. He thought of what might return if he left. And if I keep going, he asked, you will not survive. He closed his eyes for a moment, then nodded slowly. I've made harder choices, he said, but not better ones. That night, the forest glowed brighter than ever. Alira stood at the edge of the river. The water, once black, was now clear. She placed her hand in it. It shimmered with his energy. Behind her, Elias sat by the source tree, surrounded by creatures. They rested against him, glowing, trusting. He looked weak, but peaceful. He looked like someone who had made peace with his choice. She walked over and sat beside him. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, she said, you are more than a visitor. Smiled, not bad for a broken man from a broken ship. You came from nothing, she whispered, and still gave everything. I didn't come to be a hero, he replied. I just heard someone crying. The sky above them shifted. A faint red star appeared new, pulsing gently. The forest reacted. A wave of light moved through the trees like a heartbeat. The source tree pulsed. Flowers lit up the hills. The creatures danced in the air, spinning slowly, wings glowing. And at the center of it all was him, still breathing, but not for long. Alira turned her face away. Her eyes, sharp like crystal, now softened. She whispered one last time. Please, choose yourself. He turned to her. His voice barely a whisper. I already did. The fall the wind on Eden carried music now, not from flutes or strings, but from life. Leaves whispered in rhythms. Water ran with purpose. The air hummed softly, like a breath that had finally returned after years of silence. The forest was waking. The source tree, once cold and silent, pulsed with light. A soft red glow ran through its veins, climbing high into its branches. The glow was not from Eden. It was from him. Captain Elias Gray. He sat beneath the great tree, his back against the trunk. His eyes were open, but tired. He watched the sky, blinking slowly. His body looked thinner, weaker. His hands trembled as he reached for a small creature curled in his lap. It had once been dying. Now, it glowed with warmth, gently sleeping. He smiled. Looks like you're gonna be okay, he whispered. His voice cracked. His lips were dry. He coughed, but quietly. There was no panic, no fear. Just the calm of someone who knew the end was near. Queen Alira stood not far away. She watched him in silence, her heart heavier than stone. Eden was healing faster now. Colors returned to the sky. Vines wrapped around dead trees, bringing them back to life. Birds, long forgotten, now flew between the branches. But every time, the forest grew stronger. He grew weaker. It was a perfect trade. Too perfect. She stepped forward, kneeling beside him. You should rest, she said softly. Elias turned his head, smiled at her. I think that's all I've been doing. She touched his shoulder. It was cold. Your body can't hold the light much longer. You must let go. He looked at the creatures dancing in the trees. The plants swaying in the wind. The little ones glowing like stars in the grass. If I let go, he said, will it all stay? Yes, she whispered. Because of you, it will live. He nodded slowly. Then, it was worth it. The forest responded. The vines around the source tree shifted. Flowers bloomed in seconds. A soft mist rolled across the ground. The light in the air grew stronger, but also heavier. Alira looked up. The sky had changed. The red star above pulsed once, twice, then stayed steady. It was his star now. She turned back to him. You gave everything, and we have no gift to return. He smiled. You already gave me something. What? He looked at her. A place to belong, even if only at the end. His eyes began to close. The creatures felt it. They gathered closer. Some sat near his hands. Others climbed gently onto his chest. Their lights dimmed, not from death, but from grief. Even the source tree bent a little, as if bowing. Alira placed her hand over his heart. The light inside him was small now, a final ember. You are not just a visitor, she said quietly. You are part of Eden now. And then he exhaled. Soft, final. The light inside him flickered once, and went out. For a moment, the forest went silent again. Time paused. Then the ground beneath him glowed. Roots of the source tree reached up and gently wrapped around his body, not to take, but to hold. To keep. To remember. They pulled him into the earth. Slowly. Gently. As if Eden itself was tucking him in. Alira stood, her face still, her eyes full of storm and sorrow. Above her, the sky cracked open with color. A new tree branch bloomed from the top of the source tree, bright red, shaped like a flame. And high in the sky, the red star pulsed again. Elias was gone, but his gift had just begun. The last drop, the soil where he lay, was warm now. Soft light pulsed through the earth like a slow heartbeat. The source tree stood taller, its red branch glowing like fire in the sky. But no one moved. Not the queen, not the creatures, not the wind. They were all holding their breath, because he was gone. Queen Alira knelt beside the place where he vanished. Her hand touched the soil, now covered in moss and tiny glowing roots. It felt like him, not just warm, alive. Alira closed her eyes. You gave everything, she whispered, even when we had nothing to offer you in return. The creatures gathered around her in silence. They didn't dance this time. They didn't hum. They mourned. But deep under the earth, something had awakened. The source tree began to shift. Its roots dug deeper. Its bark cracked, and from within, a red glow spread out like rivers of light. It moved through the ground, across the hills, into the forests, into the streams. Wherever it touched, life followed. Plants stood taller. Trees breathed louder. Creatures who had once vanished returned as light in the air. The forest was no longer healing. It was reborn. Alira stood. She felt something strange. A warmth in her chest. It was not her magic. Not Eden's light. It was his memory, living inside her now. She opened her hand and saw it. One small glowing seed, red like a human heartbeat, resting in her palm. It pulsed once, then again. His last drop, she said softly. She walked slowly to the edge of a still lake. The surface was like glass. She knelt and placed the seed into the water. The moment it touched, light exploded. But it did not burn. It danced. From the center of the lake, a red tree rose. Not tall, not wide, just simple and perfect. Its leaves shimmered like starlight. Its branches bent in the shape of arms reaching out, not to take, but to give. The creatures gathered around it. They bowed. Alira did, too. From one soul came life again. That night, the sky above Eden changed forever. The stars moved slowly, forming a new shape. Not a weapon, not a crown, but a man. A small glowing figure, arms open, heart bright, and far beneath the roots of the source tree, a single heartbeat echoed once more. Not human, alien, Eden's. The legend 100 cycles passed. The wind still moved through the trees, but now it carried stories. The forest was full of light. The sky above Eden held one red star, brighter than all the others. It never moved, never faded. The creatures called it the Watcher, because that's what he had become, Children of Eden now ran through fields where nothing once grew. They played near rivers made clean by his sacrifice. They drank from springs that whispered his name. Even the smallest creatures, glowing like tiny stars, carried part of his light. None of them had seen him, but all of them knew him. At the center of the forest, near the lake where the red tree grew, stood a statue, not of gold, not of stone, but of roots and light, shaped like a man. Arms open, eyes soft. One hand reaching toward the sky, the other toward the ground. A symbol of balance, of giving, of choice. Queen Alira, older now, stood before it. Her hair, once silver, now shimmered with a faint red hue. Her steps were slower, her voice softer. She spoke to a group of younglings, their eyes wide and glowing. He came from far away, she said, not with weapons, not with orders, but with one question: who is crying? The children leaned forward, and when no one answered the call, he came anyway. She walked around the statue, placing her hand on its chest. He gave his last drop, not to win, not to rule, but to give us one more chance to breathe. A small creature climbed onto the statue's shoulder. It blinked twice and looked up at the sky. Above them, the red star pulsed gently. Once, then again. The same rhythm it always kept, a heartbeat, a memory, a man. Later that night, the forest fell quiet, but it was not the silence of death. It was the silence of peace. Alira sat beneath the red tree alone, her hands resting in the grass. She whispered into the wind, "Your story lives in every leaf, every drop, every life." The wind moved, gently brushing her face, and in that moment, she heard it, a voice. Soft, faint, familiar, "You're welcome." And so the galaxy forgot many things. It forgot wars. It forgot kings. It forgot planets that rose and fell. But somewhere, in the quiet woods of a living world, one name remained, spoken not in fear, not in power, but in gratitude. Elias Gray, the human. The giver, the one who answered the call.